Hello everyone, welcome to the round 6 preview stream. Hope you're all doing well on this fine Tuesday evening. Obviously some big news coming out of TLT with a certain German Hopgood. Not so much of a god anymore. I think he's going to be a bit more of a Hopgone for a lot of people's teams. He is the most traded out player. Thanks everyone for joining. I appreciate there's a couple of other streams going on, I think, with Playbook and the Whisperer. So, obviously might not have that many viewers at the moment, but hopefully people will join in later. But thanks everyone for joining at the moment. KP, WWYD, Vernon, Hanny, Drew, Ian Johnson, as always, Jason, a member. Really appreciate your support. We'll try to tackle everyone's questions. Obviously, there will be a dedicated Q&A portion at the end. Haircut looking sharp. Thank you, Jason. Yes, I did get a haircut on the weekend. It was much needed. It was getting a bit too much, so I needed to start. New week, new man. Questions about Manu, a bit of stuff about Hopgood and Hoskings, of course, being a really big trade-in option for this week too. So yeah, I think lots to get into. I think to start off though, I'll quickly just tell you how I went last week. It was a decent week, 13-21. Brought in Hines. He captained him. He updated very kindly. I will say there probably were some unicorn points that went his way, but that just typically happens with these guys like Cleary, Turbo, and Hines. They normally get these unicorn points. But I did want to quickly address something about cash generation. It's a question I think I got from Jen on Twitter, also as a viewer of the channel. I think KP had a question just in the beginning of the stream. How much attention should be placed on making money at this stage? So I'm looking at my team value, right? 13.05 million. It's looking pretty good. We start with a salary cap of 11 mil, I think, at the beginning of this year. It really comes down to, I think, how you feel about your squad. I feel like I've been able to nail majority of cheapies. I had Preston from the beginning of the season, had Hopgood, jumped on Reece Walsh before his big price rises. A couple of other guys as well who I've been able to make a little bit of money out of. So I feel like overall my cash generation has been okay. Still a few players who are going up in price as well, the likes of Khan Pereira, Warbrick. So I do feel like maybe in the next kind of 2 to 3 weeks, I am thinking of maybe trying to start targeting some pods a little bit more. Someone like Sean Lane got named today. I had great success with Sean Lane last season. I'd already owned Dill Brown. Parramatta come into a good run of games. I'm kind of thinking, is someone like Sean Lane a nice pod that I could go for in the second row forward now that I've made a bit of cash that I can maybe look to move to? So I think in terms of how important is it, I still think it's very important, especially now when there still are cheapies coming in, still money being made, because it is really, really important come the bye weeks, come State of Origin. If you can put out a better 13 than, say, your competitors, and obviously end of the season, having cash is really important to be able to load up on a gun 17 for the run home. So I still think it's a fine balance. The ideal situation is obviously to get players who are going up in price who we still think can deliver the points. I'm looking at someone like Marzhew as someone who can do that. Like, he's very firmly in my trade thoughts for this week for sure. Mr. Callier says, "Hey, Swizzle, looking sharp, new haircut." You're loving the haircut. Yes, there was a new haircut on the weekend. A couple of people at work also mentioned the haircut, so it must be. I'll tell my barber that they're doing a good job because they're obviously getting a lot of compliments out of it. So thanks all for the compliments. But that's KP. Just my general thoughts, I think, on cash. Still think it's worthwhile to chase the cash. In terms of a quick group league shout out as well, top scorer for the week was Mustafa with 1483, really big week. And of our top 10, all of them are sitting in the top 233. Luke, Nick, and Frank all sitting in the top 50, so all doing very well overall. Definitely still join the league if you haven't already. I still need to organize for Wayne, if you're watching out there. Still need to organize sending you out that cap from last week's prize. And obviously still join the league because I will be doing a few random giveaways throughout the season as well for a couple of pieces of merchandise that I've got from the SuperCoach team. So before we get into whole things around certain players like Hopgood, etc. I have posted this on Twitter, so if you don't follow me on Twitter, I'll leave a link in the description below after the stream. But I have been posting a couple of threads just around stats. We're up to week 6 now of the season. I think we're starting to get a much better idea of kind of how different teams look from what we thought at the beginning of the season. So you will probably see from now on for the next kind of at least another 5 weeks, the color shading that I use when I look at the draw and stuff is going to be a little bit different to what I had from the beginning of the season. So I'm still open to feedback as well if people think that I should be using different colors. But the way I've kind of gone about it is looking at the SuperCoach points scored and conceded by every team. Apologies to Dolphin fans. I wasn't able to get the stats for the Dolphins because I pulled this from the NRL SuperCoach Stats website who hadn't got the Dolphins updated yet. I've upgraded them basically from the worst tier to the one above. So I've got them on a similar footing as like the Titans, the Knights, the Dragons I've knocked down, and I've also knocked down the Raiders because I'm looking at it from a SuperCoach standpoint. These are teams that do concede points. You can see that as well in the second column there. Parramatta are actually conceding a lot of points. Cowboys, Newcastle. So some of my thoughts around some of these teams have changed a little bit. The Warriors obviously improving a lot. I've bumped them up to mid-tier. They were in the bottom tier. It's only the Tigers at the moment. Sorry, Tigers fans, who are at the bottom as a standalone bright green fixture to target. But yeah, that's something I just wanted to point out as well. Have pulled together the numbers as well for actual NRL points scored for and against. Kind of backs up some of the thinking as well. A team like the Broncos looking really good, both in attack but also defense. Penrith still being the best defense. No surprises why they're the back-to-back premiers. Interestingly, the Sharks still conceding points. So I know I've labelled the Sharks as like a difficult fixture, but I'm looking at it kind of thinking they are still leaking points. They leaked 32 to the Warriors. I can't remember even who else they conceded points to, but they have been conceding points as well. And so this is the kind of thing where I'm still looking at, Manly still conceding points, 32 to the Knights. They also conceded. So yeah, this is something I'm just thinking about a bit more when we're looking at teams to target, because it will come up when we look at someone like Greg Marzhew. I know is a very popular trade-in. A few people slightly turned off by the draw. It doesn't look great, but he's actually got some decent averages against those teams, and also some of those difficult teams still do concede points. So that's just something that might be worth just kind of keeping in the back of your mind, just when you're looking at the draw and reassessing difficulty of teams. Right, that's kind of some more admin-ish type stuff. I'll quickly skip past this break-even one. We'll go back to it. I think I do want to start talking maybe about Hopgood. I think he probably is the biggest talking point out of TLT. Obviously named on the bench. Sean Lane back on the edge. Cartwright also named on the edge, on the right edge spot, and Madison at lock. So obviously the big question is, as Footy Edits 09 says, is Hopgood a sell? So my first instinct was, sell him. 548k, break even to 45, so it's not like a super high break even, but I thought coming off the bench, minutes are uncertain, so who knows what's going to happen. You've got a prime target in Hosking sitting there as a potentially very juicy trade-in. I've thought about it a little bit more though, and to be honest, I'm kind of actually thinking now I might just hold him this week. A couple of reasons why. Firstly, it's a Tigers matchup. Even if he comes off the bench, he's an offloading person, so there's always a chance of some of those attacking stats, line break assists. It's a really good matchup. Easter Monday, it's a really cracking fixture. We saw Madison do this last season coming off the bench. He would play in the middle 50-ish, 55 minutes and have a really good PPM. I'm just wondering if Hopgood, if he plays the 50 to 55, still coming off the bench, if he's still worth a hold. And the break-even's not so high, that makes me think I can maybe afford to hold him for another week and reassess. And with what else I have in my team, I don't necessarily have to sell him to get to someone like Hosking, who's a good trade-in. So I'm kind of thinking Hopgood, I can maybe just give it a week, see what the minutes look like. And if it looks like it's not good, he comes off, plays 20, 30 minutes, scores like 35, 40 points, then I'm thinking, all right, he's out for me then next week, because it is the week after against the Bulldogs, who are improving as well. To be honest, I don't hate people selling him. Like, if the only way you can get to someone like Hosking, who I do think is a great trade in this week, is Hopgood, I think I'd be fine. I would be saying, go sell Hopgood for Hosking. But for me, I'm thinking I have other ways that I can get to Hosking. Doesn't mean sacrificing Hopgood. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking Hopgood for me, I still could be a hold this week. It's also awkward that he plays on the Monday. It's the last game of the round. If he's all of a sudden, like if you're relying on him to play, it is a little bit awkward, but I still think he could just be worth rolling out just for maybe this one extra week. David Coleman says he's got Hopgood, Niokore and Schuster. None of them look like they'll start. What do I do? Schuster will start. He's been named to start. No issues I see from him. Niokore has been suspended for 2 weeks. That's exactly who I have. I have Murata Niokore. He's been suspended for 2 weeks, accepted his guilty plea for that. I think it was a hip drop tackle that he made in that last game. So for me, Niokore to Hosking is the move I'm probably going to be doing. It's a very easy move for me to do. That Niokore is going to be out for the next 2 weeks. So yeah, I can afford, I think, to hold Hopgood for this week. I just think it's the matchup as well is made for someone like him who's offloading, Jags and attacking stat. And I kind of see why a lot of people are doing it. But for me, he could still be a hold for this week. So that's kind of my thoughts, I think, on Hopgood. I don't think I need to spend too much more time on him. I know, obviously, he is by far now the most traded out player. I can't hate it on face value. I do like it. To be honest, apologies, Robbie. Robbie Starr, you are going for Sean Lane this week. Don't tell anyone. It's practically a straight swap. I'm sorry, mate. I have to tell the masses. I think I just mentioned it to Bruma23, Matthew, a great guy on Twitter. If there's one pod I could go for this week, if I had a luxury trade, I would bring in Sean Lane this week. I mean, I've got a good affection for the guy. He was really good for me last season when I owned him. I owned Dylan Brown as well. That combination really had me going up the ranks at the back end of last season, even when I didn't own the likes of Tarpany and Latrell Mitchell. So I've got a really fond affection for those two. If I could bring in Sean Lane this week, it'd be awesome, because I've got no concern about Sean Lane and his minutes. I think he's locked for 80 minutes, more or less. Sorry, Robbie, I know you're telling me to shush, but I have to tell the people, he is my pod of choice for this week if anyone is looking for a pod in the second row forward. Really high on Sean Lane. And he's coming back from a jaw injury. Maybe the match fitness might be down, but like performance-wise, he should be fine, right? It's not anything to do with his muscles and his arms or his legs or anything like that. Josh saying over Fafita. No, I would probably buy Fafita over Lane this week, but I already own Fafita. So it's, again, somewhat team specific, but I guess I'm saying more as a pod. Like, he is an outright pod. Like, surely no one owns Sean Lane. On this page, though, I've just got the topic, I guess, of a few other kind of potential cash cows who've peaked. I know Incentio saying Alamotti peaked ? No, I'm not saying all of these guys are outright sells. That's not the case. It's more just about, I've seen some questions on Twitter about people who are looking at Marzhew, for example, and they're thinking, do I sell Doueihi Fido or Alamotti? So I wanted to kind of put them up as a bit of a comparison standpoint. Clone Commander, I can see you're adding me with your question. I will try to get to that, but please don't feel the need to necessarily keep reposting it. I will definitely try to get to questions as much as I can. Although I may as well, now that I've seen it, I may as well answer it. Thoughts on Jared Croker as a downgrade option for Camperero or Alamotti? I don't like it. Jared Croker for me never really feels that relevant Supercoach wise. There's no guarantees even goal kicking. Brad Schneider's in the team this week too. I suspect Jared Croker is going to be goal kicking, but if we go back to that slide about points scored, the Raiders are all the way down in the bottom three. How many points are they really going to score? He hasn't got good base, not for me. And especially Camperero, if we go to this tab here with Camperero, minus 67 break even, he's going to make a stack of cash this week. I have not considered selling Camperero this week. He has been named as well. But on someone like Alamotti, as Incentia mentioned, people who are kind of going in a 50-50 of Doueihi Fido or Alamotti out, I definitely would be looking at trading at Doueihi Fido over Alamotti. A couple of things, Alamotti's break even is not super high, neither is Doueihi Fido's, but Doueihi Fido is obviously much higher in price compared to Alamotti, so it's much easier to get up to someone like Marzhew. The draw is also better for the Bulldogs, in my opinion. Dolphins now without Sean O'Sullivan and also without Milford, I think they may potentially struggle. Warriors, we know, is tough. They're looking really good defensively, and Penrith are the best team defensively. Next 2 weeks, he's versing the best defense, and he's also versing like the fourth best defense. Really struggling to see where Doueihi Fido might get a lot of points out of this. Alamotti, yes, the Rabbitohs game is tough. Parramatta still are conceding points. We just spoke about the Sharks can concede points as well. And then he's got the Dragons, Raiders in the rounds 9 and 10. So I feel like Alamotti is someone that you can still hold. There is still potential for him to make a little bit more money. So anyone who's in that 50-50, I definitely think Doueihi Fido is the sell candidate over Alamotti. Rodder says, thanks, Robbie Naman. I'm getting Lane. He already owns Fafita. Sorry, Robbie. There's another one extra person who's going Sean Lane for this week. I've got the... you're right. Sorry. I do have the Dolphins draw wrong. They've got the Cowboys this week. Sorry about that. I've got that incorrect, haven't I? I'm just going to have a quick look at my spreadsheet. Round 6. I've got the draw all wrong, haven't I? Oh my goodness. What have I done? I've got the draws all incorrect. Sorry, guys. I've got that Dolphins draw all wrong. I'll fix that up right now. It's Cowboys this week. Then it's the Rabbitohs, the Titans, Raiders, and Sharks. Oh, how have I gotten that so wrong? This is what happens, guys, when I'm trying to do stuff on the fly. Anyway, I've tried to fix it up there. It's going to be a little bit... it's going to look really bad with the formatting, but you'll get the idea. Anyway, I think I'd still sell Doueihi Fido over Alamotti because I think he's kind of peaked in price. Titans and Raiders is decent in rounds 8 and 9, but yeah, I still think I'd sell Alamotti. So thank you to Sam O'Brien for correcting me on that one. Appreciate that. And apologies for getting that incorrect in the first instance. Nathan says, Aman, tell me you're getting Gregosaurus Rex. Yep, good chance I'll be getting Gregosaurus. Just to quickly wrap up, I guess, on this slide of things. So Doueihi is someone I own. He could be a nice downgrade to Schuster to free up some funds. Not a must sell though, because he's not playing this week. He's not even named in the 17, so he won't change in price. Oichikamanu I think is fine for this week, but with the buy coming up in round 7, I am trying to think of a plan to try to upgrade Oichikamanu next week to a better front row forward like a Payne Haas, for example. Cartwright, I think if you own, I'd probably hold. Still has a low break even of 29. Name to start on the edge. It's a good matchup. I would just give it a week, see what happens with the minutes. And that's, I guess, my general thoughts around some of these players who I think are kind of more popular sell candidates as well. On the topic of Gregosaurus. So, Gregosaurus Rex. So, a lot of questions about him. Is he a trap? Do we get him? How's the job security? Is he worth the trade in? I will be trading in Greg Marzhew this week, I think. So, a couple of reasons why. So, obviously, Miller has been killing it too. But I do think, like, Lockie Miller is much safer job security-wise. That's for sure. He's locked in at fullback. Marzhew, Heimel Hunt, Dom Young have been kind of having a bit of a ring-a-rosy about who's playing. 2 of the 3 play each week. I know Marzhew had a really bad defensive read in that game against Manly. He basically just let Tuipulotu score a free try. But what I like about Marzhew, the stats obviously are incredible. Base power average of 65 in the first 2 games. So even if he doesn't get an attacking stat, there's a good chance he still gets 50 to 55 to 60. We have seen this before with Greg Marzhew, so it's not a fluke. He is this type of player who gets the tackle busts. Still no Newcastle jersey for Greg. I haven't been able to find a nice jersey picture of him unless he's been in training. I need to sort this out, don't I? Anyway, I swear I have been looking, couldn't find it. Apologies any big Gregosaurus. You know what? Stuff it. I found the picture. We're going to do this live on air. It's like I'm on the radio. I'm not on the radio. I'm going to put in a new pic of Marzhew because I think fair enough, Ian. We can't have this insolence continue. Goodbye, Titans Marzhew. Come in, Knights Marzhew. Smiling, looking happy. Yeah, let's do that. Let's put in. Yeah, how's that? Happy, Ian? We got in Knights Marzhew. I just like his stats. Really good tackle breaking ability. So what I've actually got on this screen, so I've got the draw for the Knights. Fingers crossed it's correct. This is the draw that I had before for the, I had a half of the Dolphins draw here. Anyway, forget that. This is the Knights draw. So New Zealand and Penrith, obviously the next 2 weeks is difficult. I was basically saying the same thing when I was talking about with Doueihi Fido. But the numbers I've got him below are a small sample size, but it's his average against each of these opponents. So he's scored well against some of these top teams. I know Warriors haven't been good defensively, but 81 points his average against the Warriors. He's scored 82 against Penrith before, 44 against the Cowboys, 52 against Parramatta. Obviously against the Titans he hasn't scored against, and then 72 against the Sharks. So, and Ian's saying now the stats look better for Marzhew that he's in the Knights jersey. Yep, I think a lot of people are happy about that. With Marzhew, I think he's got that ability to still score well against even the better teams. So for me, I don't really see too much risk in him. The main risk is obviously around job security, but let's say worst case scenario, he plays this week and he's out next week. Minus 44 break even. If he scores a 60, he'll make 100k. And the way I'm seeing it with Marzhew is that I know Ruben Garrick, who I don't own, he's got a couple of tough matchups coming up. So he's got Penrith this week, and then he's got in round 7, Melbourne. So he's got Penrith and then Melbourne. But then in round 8, Garrick has got the Tigers. Sorry, Tigers fans, you're going to feel like I'm really hating on them this week. I'm not hating on them, but it is what it is. They're conceding points. So if we're talking about SuperCoach here, we need to score points. So Manly have got the Tigers in round 8, then they've got the Titans in round 9. Those are 2 weeks that I think I'm going to want to own Ruben Garrick. And then even from then on, it's Broncos, Sharks, bit tougher. Then it's Raiders, and then the Knights in round 13 in the bye week, where he's probably going to be playing fullback. So I think Garrick for me, round 8 looks like a great week to trade in. With Marzhew, if it doesn't work out in 2 weeks, he'll be another bridge to Garrick as well. So I'm just looking at it worst case scenario, he goes up 150, 200k, hopefully, and then if he gets dropped in round 8, I swap him straight to Garrick, or if he's not performing, he's just closer in price to Garrick. When in round 8, I think Garrick will be a great trade-in option. And if upside case is that he continues killing it and as a keeper, well then great, we've locked in a centre wing keeper at 580k. I don't really see too many downsides. To answer your question, Jack, would you go Garrick to Marzhew? No, I wouldn't be doing Garrick to Marzhew. I was just talking about how I'm trying to get to Garrick in round 8. There's only, like you can see in the table below me, I've kind of put in a few sell candidates for the likes of Marzhew. Doueihi Fido, I'm all aboard. If your only option is to sell someone like Alamotti, I'm fine for that too. I think the upside is there with Marzhew. Someone like Val Holmes though, I think with the whole Hopgood news, not as many people are talking about selling Val Holmes. I wasn't a fan of selling Val Holmes anyway, but now with Drinkwater being named again for the Cowboys, versus a Dolphins team who won't have Sean O'Sullivan or Anthony Milford, still no Kafusi, I think it's a good week for someone like Val Holmes to score well. So I'm not personally too keen on selling someone like Val Holmes to Marzhew. If it's the only route to say make up cash to get someone like Hosking, I can kind of see it, but I still think Holmes is someone that I would be looking to hold. You just know he's locked in, obviously, for his role at the Cowboys. Marzhew, there still is that hanging over his head, but I think the job security risk is worth taking the plunge because I think that really low break even and all those other factors I spoke about. I'm pretty keen on Gregosaurus Rex. To be honest, now that I'm looking at this picture of him in his Knights uniform looking happy, I want him even more. Kane saying sell Isaac Thompson or Alamotti. That's a tough one because Isaac Thompson does have a good matchup this week in the Bulldogs, and then he's got the Dolphins next week. So there is a case that you could maybe keep Thompson and maybe sell Alamotti. I prefer what I've seen from Alamotti. Like, let's be frank as well, Alamotti got dudded some points last week. He should have scored more than what he got given. It could be a completely different story if, would he end up scoring like 40? He probably should have been on like 55, 60. He didn't get given a line break, which I thought was a dead cert. Should have been given a line break assist, which he didn't get. Like, he should have been up 18 points. I feel kind of dirty as well because I won some head-to-heads last week and benefited from Alamotti not getting updates. But I really do think he should have been given some extra points. In terms of that 50-50, I think I prefer Alamotti. I think I prefer what I've seen from Alamotti. So I think I'd rather keep him than I'd rather keep Isaac Thompson. So that's Kane's question there. Pablo says, should I hold Cardi? Yeah, I spoke about Cardi just before. Yeah, for me, if you own Cartwright, I'd be holding this week. He's got a relatively low break even at 29. Good matchup. So for me, I still think it's worth seeing another week. Patrick, about Hopgood, if you just go back a little bit, we did speak a bit more in detail about Hopgood, so I probably won't go through it again in detail, but if you want to rewind a little bit, you should be able to get my thoughts on Hopgood. Who are captain options? We'll definitely get into captain options later in the stream as well. But anyway, I think I've said enough on my piece about Gregosaurus. In terms of him or Miller, yeah, I think I'd rather just go Gregosaurus just for the... I'm just calling it Gregosaurus. I think I'd rather just go Marzhew for the lower price. Like, Miller feels very expensive now. I think at that price, I'd probably rather just go Garrick, if I'm being honest. All right, so that's that on the centres. We'll probably just go into Hosking. So Sean, for example, Sean Clark is asking, is Carrigan to Hoskins, Holmes to Marzhew for cash to get Hines a good move? Now, see, this is one of those instances, just going back to that Marzhew point. If you're raising cash like Holmes to Marzhew, but you're getting Hines in, and that's your way of getting Hines, I can't really fault it, to be honest, because Hines is in different level. Like, I sold Murray, he scored well, but Murray got me Hines, and I'm just happy that I've got Nico locked in there. I think I saw a question before about Sean Johnson or Mitchell Moses. I'd probably go Mitchell Moses just for the matchup. I think it's a lot better. But I think ultimately halfback, I think you just want to lock in Hines and Cleary, and I think without... Like, Holmes could do very well this week. I have a feeling he's going to do well. He's been scoring his 60s without not doing much, is basically what I think it was Clone Commander who said that. Pretty much that's the case. But yeah, selling him to be able to get Hines next week feels fair enough, especially for Marzhew. He could easily match. He could match Holmes in base power. Let's put it that way. Okay, so on Hosking, so didn't really learn too much from TLT in the whole Luke Garner, Liam Martin situation. Neither of the two got named. But again, I'm looking at it similar to, say, with Marzhew. Like, you're guaranteed pretty much 80 minutes from Hosking this week. Decent matchup against Manly. Newcastle round 7 is good. There's a Tigers game in round 9, which looks good as well. So Drew's asking what happens to Hosking when Martin comes back. We really don't know at this point. My feeling is that Hosking has looked really good. Like, he scored 80 points last week with a try, but he easily could have scored a second try. Like, he was millimeters short of scoring a second try. That would have been an extra 17, 10, it would have been an extra 20, probably 30 points. We're looking at back-to-back 110 scores, and he'd be almost a must-buy. For me, he feels like a very solid trade-in. With Martin coming back, there's a chance maybe Martin either goes to the left edge or he plays in the middle, like a middle rotation, with Garner and Hosking as the two edges. I kind of feel like Martin would be more likely to go to the left, and then Hosking just stays on the right-hand side. And it's obviously been very notable that playing on the right outside of Cleary, he's getting those chances to get attacking stats. So I really like Hosking. I was very keen, you all could probably tell last week, I was very keen on Hosking. I didn't buy him because there was a report from the Telegraph that it was like, yeah, Garner will be back. Eventually, Garner will be back. He's in our plans, etc. And I was just like, oh, there's enough doubt now that I'm probably not going to go Hosking. Kind of wish I went him, but it's fine. I think at his price, it's not that bad. He's got a very low break even. He'll make a stack of money. Just in terms of the graph that I've showed here as well, I just plugged in from NRL SuperCoach Stats.com, which is a great website. I just put in there, they've got a price change calculator tool. I just plugged in, if he was to average 65, how much money would he make? He's pretty much going to make about like at least 100k this week if he scores 65. And then like there's a very good chance he'll make at least 150k. So I think he's worth a trade in alone for that, but he also offers the points potential. So again, what we spoke about at the very beginning of the stream, someone that you can get that will generate cash plus get you points is ideal balance, I think, of the two. So yeah, really like Hosking as a trade-in. In terms of who you sell for him, I've had to update the table below me last minute after this whole Hopgood news, but yeah, Hopgood to Hosking, I'd probably do it if you didn't have any other option. Carrigan to him, I think people who were selling Carrigan probably are going to be now selling Hopgood, which I'd probably say, yeah, sell Hopgood before I sell Carrigan. But if you want to keep Hopgood, I think Carrigan's a fine sell. Similar to what we're seeing with Payne Haas, with the Broncos absolutely killing it, and they still have two good matchups coming up. They've got Raiders this week, Titans the next week. If the Broncos keep blowing out teams and just piling on the points, we're going to see lower minutes for the forwards. They just don't need to work them as hard as what they have had previous seasons. Carrigan played 53 minutes last week. Haas played 45 minutes last week, when you probably were starting the season with Carrigan expecting him to play 65, 70 minutes. So the fact that he's got those low minutes in him is not great. I'd probably sell Hopgood over him and just keep Carrigan for another week potentially. But yeah, I would maybe look at selling him. Wilton, I'd probably move on as well for Hosking. Wilton's been fine, but I think Hosking can deliver the same, cheaper price, and Wilton has the bye this week. Cartwright probably not anymore now that he's been named to start. And Doueihi, yeah, look, if you can upgrade Doueihi to Hosking, I think that's pretty good. So those are some more popular options in terms of who people would be selling to. I'll just answer a few questions. So Kane was asking, would I go Hosking or Fafita? Someone asked me this on Twitter. My feeling was Fafita. Because he's got a Dragons matchup this week, it's a game where he can easily go 100 plus. But I think you kind of have to make a decision with your team. Are you happy enough with points that can be generated, but you still need to make more cash? Because I think Hosking will fairly comfortably get maybe 60, 65 this week. Fafita's a chance of getting like 100, 110. So there's maybe a 40-point gap there. But Hosking is obviously guaranteed to make the money that Fafita is not going to. So I think you kind of just need to weigh up, do you need to take the cash and maybe slightly lower points this week, or do you want to chase a ceiling of someone like Fafita, who's a genuine captain option this week against the Dragons? So I think you kind of really just have to make a decision about that. If you're on the points, go for Fafita. If you're happy to take a solid score, make more money, then I'd probably just go Hosking. Hopefully that helps answer your question. Robbie Star says, 189 watching, 7 likes. Come on, guys. It's literally a press. Hit the like. Please, guys, hit the stream. Give the stream a like if you are enjoying it. So a couple of questions still on Marzhew. I might just quickly go back and tackle them from Don. Sell Toto or Alamotti for Marzhew. Probably Alamotti. Toto scored like mid-60s last week without any attacking stats, pretty much. So that would be my thoughts on him. SE Camel says, I'm happy about going early on Hosking. Yeah, look, if I had gone Hosking last week, I would have been very happy as well. Alaric says, Hopgood, yes, and Cartwright, no. Please explain. I kind of just went into that a little bit. Essentially, it's because Cartwright, I think, well, to be honest, I think about it now. If Cartwright was the only other option you have at second row forward to go to Hosking, yeah, I'd do it. The reason I said no is because it's probably more from the perspective of he's not a must sell because he's been named to start again. I thought coming into this week, Cartwright would be moved to the bench. I thought it would be Hopgood, lock, Madison right edge, Lane left edge, and I would have said, yep, go trade out Cartwright now. But the fact he's been named to start again just makes me think, I think you can afford to hold him. If he's the only route to Hosking, yeah, I'd probably do it. Like there's really only a few people who I wouldn't be trading out for Hosking. Like if you still hold, like, I don't know, even if you have Cam Murray, I don't even know would you trade Cam Murray to Hosking? Probably not with a good Bulldogs matchup. But outside of a gun, like a Fafita or a Murray, I feel like all options are on the table to move to Hosking. I think someone was asking before about Eli Katoa. Would I go Eli Katoa to Hosking? I mean, Katoa's been good. I mean, not as big the last week or so. I think that's also just kind of coincided with the draw getting a bit tougher. But do remember that Jerome Hughes has been named this week as well. I do think a lot of Katoa's points were coming off the back of Jerome Hughes. So last week last week was the first week without Jerome Hughes. Oh, sorry, no. He scored 96 the week before without Jerome Hughes, but first 4 weeks, 54, 92, 64, 96. Now last week was 45. It's Roosters, Manly, Warriors before the bye. He's got a break even of 46. He's not going to go down too much in price. He's probably going to stay around 600k. Again, it's one of those ones where I think, look, you can make 150k as the downgrade, but there's no need to sell Katoa. I think if I owned Katoa, I probably wouldn't be selling, in my opinion. But I've been really high on Katoa, I think, this season so far. So no, I don't think I'd be selling Eli Katoa for anyone out there who's thinking about selling Katoa. Now, this is a great question. Who's the better buy out of Hosking and Marzhew? I mean, I'm gonna cop out with it's based on your team. Do you need the centre wing or do you need the second row forward? The way I think about it is there others in that position who can get the same as them for the same price? At 450k, can you find a second row forward who does the same job? Someone like Jackson Ford probably could, and he's cheaper, maybe slightly less. At 580k, is there any centre wing who can get what Marzhew can? Maybe. Jackson Paulo was around his price, but he's gone up in price. Maybe Dan Tupou, Campbell Graham. There are a lot of good centre wing options actually, but there's a lot of good second row forward options too. I think if I had to go for one, Hosking. But honestly, I'm very high on both. They'll both be in my trade plans this week for sure. But if I had to pick one, probably Hosking. Best Hopgood replacement from Jacob. Already have Hosking. I feel like I'm saying Hosking so many times. I mean, if you've got cash and you've already got Fafita, I like going Sean Lane as a pod. Again, apologies, Robbie. I know you wanted him as a pod. But yeah, someone like Sean Lane could be a nice option. Someone like the Eels are just good for buy coverage. So one of them two, Madison, Sean Lane, could be options. Outside of that, you still have the likes of a Jackson Ford as well. Schuster is someone that you could still get, but yeah, I don't know. There's a few, you can take a chance. You don't even have to sell them, to be honest. There's a perfectly good argument to just hold Hopgood for this week. All right, seeing a few questions about Latrell, Doueihi, Cody Walker. So I think we might move on from this section and get onto the 5/8s. So got you guys covered, got a little section prepared. Hopefully I've got the draw correct. I'm so concerned now I've got everything wrong, but I think I'm looking at these ones. These ones look correct, so that's good. So yeah, in terms of the 5/8s, so I guess people who own Adam Doueihi, potentially looking at selling this week. Actually, before I quickly get onto this, I'll quickly just answer this question from Footy Edits, SJ to Hines. Look, not this week, obviously with Hines on a bye, and SJ has a negative break even, but it's probably one I'd be looking to do next week. I think as soon as Hines is back, I think you need to get him in your team. We just 2 weeks, 180, 102, like him and Cleary are just standouts for the halfback position. So yeah, I guess in terms of the 5/8s, in terms of Adam Doueihi and what you do there. So Adam Doueihi has been named in the halves again, which is a positive. He wasn't really scoring that well, Supercoach wise, at fullback. I think he will be better at playing at the 5/8 spot. Parramatta do still concede points, so I think the matchup is fine for conceding points, or for scoring points. The issue is the bye in round 7. And then out of that bye, he's got Manly and Penrith, which are not great games. Dragons is good in round 10, but then it is Rabbitohs again, and then the Cowboys. So it's not an amazing run of games for Doueihi, put it that way. So in a break-even of 69, he's probably not going to change too much in price. But I can see the appeal of Cody Walker at 572k. He's not too much more expensive. Matt Burton's around a similar price as well. I think if you're looking for a 5'8 option and you want to move off, then yeah, probably one of Walker or Burton would be the ones I'd move to. I'd probably go Cody. So if you can see below them, I've put the draw out until round 13. Cody plays a round 13 bye week. He's not going to play Origin. So I feel like if you're going to lock in a 5'8 that you can just ride out until the bye period, I think Cody Walker is the one that you would go to. So, if you don't have the funds to go up to someone like Dill Brown, he is like 200k more expensive. It's a lot of money that you need to try to find to get to someone like Dill Bags. I mean, Dill Bags is probably the one I'd go for. I own him. He's got the Tigers this week, so I really like that matchup. But I appreciate that that's a lot of money that you need to spend. And he also has a very high break even of 131. So I like Doueihi to Walker. It doesn't feel like a must trade this week because I don't think Doueihi's really in jeopardy of going down too much in price. Cody's going to go up a little bit. So I think if you've got other stuff that you need to do, like Bulldogs game at a core stadium is going to on Friday. It's not going to be an easy game on paper. Like the Bulldogs are going to be up for it. So I don't think there's a rush to need to go Doueihi to Cody. I think you can wait a week and then maybe round 7. If you didn't like what you saw from Doueihi and you liked what you saw from Cody, when he's got a Dolphins matchup, Doueihi's on a bye. It feels like a very easy move at that point. So people doing it this week, I don't mind it. If you're off Doueihi, you're kind of sick of owning him or you don't like the Tigers. Cody's probably the one I'd go to just because I think around the same price. Someone mentioned Tom Dearden, I think on Twitter. I'm not too keen on Tom Dearden. The Cowboys' good run of games it kind of ends in round 8. And I just don't think Dearden is quite the Supercoach proven option that someone like Cody Walker is. Like Cody Walker is a proven gun. And he's looking better as well, I think, the last few weeks. So we're definitely seeing on the eye test he's looking better. So Cody's the one I'd go for. What I do like about Cody as well, I saw someone in the chat, sorry Ian, pod Cody Walker in round 11. I'm not sure how much of a pod Cody Walker is going to be in round 11 when he's got the Tigers, Parramatta and Raiders in round 13. I think a lot of people will be buying him at that point. But if you want to go early, don't mind it. The Rabbitohs are still a team who can score points. The stats at the beginning of the stream didn't quite show them being able to score a lot of points, but they have had a very, very tough draw. We know that they're a good attacking team. Hamish is saying, Dillbag's best option next week. He wouldn't have such a high break even. That's true. Like, yeah, for sure, you don't have to buy Dill Brown this week. And, if you've got other things you want to do, you can maybe wait for him to drop in price. It's kind of one of those ones where you weigh up points potential versus the cash loss. Like, Dill Brown definitely could do well this week, but I don't think it's a must move. Like, Doueihi might go down 5-10k. Dill Brown scores 80. He still probably loses another 30k. So you're like 20-30k better off. So Pablo's asking, do you think it's risky holding off on Dillbag still next week? It's not risky. Like, at the end of the day, he's not high owned. So I don't see risk in the sense that he's not a highly owned player. So it's not like Nico of last week or the week before where his points really hurt you if you don't own. If he comes out and scores 150, he's not that highly owned. Yes, it'll suck, but it's not going to kill you like, your ranks wise and stuff. So I don't think it's a risk. I think if you want to opt to wait, hope he goes down in price, I think that strategy is perfectly fine. Because I do think that Doueihi has potential to still score points. Like Parramatta are conceding points. And Easter Monday game, both teams are going to be up for it. You'd hope that the Tigers are up for it and can score a few extra points. But we'll see. I've got Munster in this list here. Feels hard to move off if you're someone like Doueihi going up to Munster. I don't really see many other ways that you'd go Munster, especially if you're trying to get to someone like Hines, I think the week after. By the way, all you people in the chat saying that Dillbag is going to cover his break even, you are my heroes. Love you all. I would be ecstatic if Dillbags covers that break even because he's currently my captain. Anyway, that's probably it, I guess, on the 5/8. Oh, one thing I will mention on the table below me, I've just taken the average of each of these players against the opposing teams coming up in the next 6, just to try to split them even more so. Doueihi does have the worst expected points, if you want to call it that. Bit of an FPL reference over the next 6 weeks. Cody Walker's is pretty good at 372. So I think there is upside potentially with going Cody Walker because historically he's done well against some of these opponents that he's got coming up. But yeah, people doing Doueihi to Cody Walker, I think it's fine, like it, but doesn't have to be a must trade this week. I think you can afford to wait next week. All right, so next topic. What else? We've spoken about Hopgood, Marzhew, Hosking, Doueihi. I'm seeing a question about Reed Marnie actually. So, I've got Schuster. You know what? I'll quickly tackle this. I didn't tackle it earlier. Before I get to the hookers, I'll talk about this. Plays with the low break evens. So a couple of cheapies who I think people are maybe looking at this week. One is Jack Johns from the Knights. Another is it Isaac Fasumala-Awi from the Titans? Tino's younger or older brother? I don't actually know. He's like 200k bottom dollar front row forward cheapie. So I think someone was asking before, would I go Jack Johns or Schuster? For me, it's Schuster, comfortably. He's only 7k more expensive, but his dual 5'8" second row forward, I think that's a really handy dual to have. And for me, there's no question mark on Schuster's job security. He is the 5'8" for Manly. It's just so happens he's had some injuries that have set him back. Whereas Jack Johns, he has been starting at lock. I've seen some quotes that saying that they're looking at him as a longer term lock position. But I just feel more secure with someone like a Schuster who you can toggle between the 5'8" and the second row forward spots. And second row forward is such a stacked position. Jack Johns he's only available in second row forward, which kind of hurts him. I've got his stats below me. The stats are fine. You know, averaging 41 minutes, base average of 36 is fine. But we know Schuster has got a base power average of about 25-30 himself. But the attacking stats are much more likely to come, especially in an attacking team like Manly. And we saw it before when I was talking about Ruben Garrick. I really like targeting Manly from round 8 when they've got the Tigers, Titans, Broncos, Sharks not great, but then it's the Raiders and then it's Newcastle in round 13. Just quickly checking with the Knights. Yeah, so the Knights do play round 13, so that is obviously a good thing. But I feel like he's not going to be someone who will hurt you. I just feel like Schuster's a much better, safer downgrade option. A couple of people asked about those cheapy front row forwards. So you've got Isaac Fasumala-Awi and Lindsay Smith from the Penrith Panthers. So Smith is at the bottom of this table with a -10 break even. Fasumala-Awi, I think, had a minus... What did he have? I can't even remember what his break even was. It wasn't in the top 12 in terms of the lowest break evens, put it that way. That's why he's not in this table here. Just quickly checking. He's got a break even of -2. So it's obviously still going to make some money. I honestly, to tell you the truth, I have no idea what the situation is there with Isaac in terms of minutes potential. He's played 2 games till this point, played 25 and 47 minutes, base average of 32 in those 36 minutes, which is solid. But again, I'm like, yeah, he might go up maybe 230k, but the way I think about it with your front row forward, if you're looking to downgrade to make money, like, are you downgrading Oitikamanu, Christian Welch? I'm okay with Christian Welch at this point in time. He's going around in the mid-50s. Oitikamanu, yes, I think from round 7 could be upgraded when he's got the bye, but the way I think about it is I'm trying to make money to upgrade Oitikamanu to like Tarpany, Payne Haas, not go down to someone like a Fasumala-Awi. And if you're going down from like Moali or Pele, like you're really only making 30k. I'm just not seeing a lot of benefit out of that trade. Similar with Lindsay Smith. Like, he's only played the 1 game so far. He will probably take some minutes where Fisher Harris is going to be out. But again, I just don't see like the massive benefit in terms of cash generation. Especially if I'm imagining people who are selling Oitikamanu to him, they've probably got Oitikamanu as their second front row forward. I'd rather just upgrade him instead. So, to be honest, I'm not really too keen on those cheaper front row forwards. Just feel like it's a very low upside position. I'd be just trying to get the money to upgrade Oitikamanu to a locked-in front row forward keeper, and that's that. And if we get some more information about these guys over the next couple of weeks, then sure, we can look to maybe downgrade or swap the likes of Moali or Pele. But front row forward is a spot I'm never going to reserve. So if I'm happy with the 2 starting front row forwards that I've got, then that's fine for me in my opinion. If I was going Jack Johns or Isaac, probably Jack Johns. It looks as though he's more likely to be a longer term hold, but even then I'd probably prefer Schuster. Of course, I understand people may already own Schuster, but I'm not sure if I love him too much, to be honest. Like David's asking, is Niokore to Jack Johns a good trade? I mean, I guess people are going down to Jack Johns to make money. I'm going to assume people who are buying Jack Johns already own Schuster. I get it. You're making money. Like, for example, Rocco saying Stefano to Isaac for Hines, and you said that he's your third front row forward. Look, in that case, I get it. Just go down all the way in price and bring in Hines. I can't fault that, right? So yeah. So for example, in Rocco's instance, I can say, yeah, that's a pretty fairly reasonable trade. All right, so that's kind of my thoughts on some of those cheaper options I think a few people are buying this week. In terms of other negative break-even players coming up, so Hosking we've spoken a lot about, as we have Marzhew, Warbrick, Campera, I'm keeping until I hopefully can sell them when they're peaked in price, but they've still got quite a bit of money to make, so I'm happy with that. Someone in the beginning of the stream was talking about Tom Chester. Yeah, we missed out on Chester. He's been named on the bench, so he made like 100k, but I think he was only fullback listed, so if you own like Turbo Reece Walsh, you weren't moving off one of them too. KO Weeks we'll actually just talk about in this next section as well. So I wanted to get into some dummy half chat. So I think Simon Crockford is asking Egan, you're asking a reserve question, but Steez is asking what do we do with Egan. I'm going to assume that's Wade Egan. So this is something I'm thinking about as well for next week. So next week, I may look to upgrade Oichkamanu to a better front row forward. I'm going to need money for that. So the way I'm thinking about doing that potentially is downgrading Reed Marnie. And what I want to do is try to maybe go down in price to a cheaper dummy half. So the ones that stand out to me are Sonny Luke from the Penrith Panthers, Brendan Hands from the Eels, KO Weeks from Manly, and then maybe Ray Stone from the Dolphins. Don't love Ray Stones. Is it Stones or Stone? It's probably Stone, isn't it? It's not Stones. Someone like Wade Egan, relatively high break-in of 58. I think it could be worth just keeping him this week again. His minutes are decent, averaging 68. Reed Marnie, look, I was tweeting last week that he was going to be sold for me. Obviously what's happened this week means I'm kind of going to, I think I was a bit reactionary, and look, it helps that he got a try assist. I'm going to sit on it, I think, for another week. Hamish is saying that he's downgraded to Ray Stone. If I'm being honest, I think round 13 would play a part in this thinking. By the way, thank you, Robbie. You've become a member. Really, really appreciate that. I thought I'd just shout you out before I missed that, but appreciate that. Thank you a lot. So I think it's probably just worthwhile to see who plays in round 13, because I imagine most of you are going to be pairing up with Harry Grant, who's going to miss the round 13 with Origin. So the Dolphins, they do play round 13. Ray Stone might be an option. Manly play round 13, so someone like KO Weeks maybe is an option. Eels play round 13, so Hands could be an option. Penrith do not play round 13, so Sonny Luke is not going to cover that spot. Sonny Luke still stands out to me because I think he's just playing for the best team with the highest attacking potential upside, and he's just been hampered with like the HIA and stuff, and he's got a high break even of 42. I'm hoping that if he comes out, plays good minutes, but maybe gets like 35-40, he's the one who I'm still thinking of, the one to go down in price, to downgrade Reed Marnie. That frees up like 300k, and I can use that to maybe go Stefano to Tarpany next week, for example, or maybe even up to Payne Haas if I've got enough monies. So Sonny Luke's still the one I'm thinking about. KO Weeks looked good, but his numbers are inflated from that try that he scored last week. So for me, the minutes aren't quite there yet. Brendan Hands, again, the minutes, he's averaging 32 minutes. I know Sonny Luke's only averaging 25, but that's including his HIA game. If I look at the games that he played, I appreciate only a couple of games, but he played 25 and 46 in rounds 1 and then rounds 2. I was kind of thinking, is 46 minutes actually what he's going to get? Because if he's getting 46 minutes, that's much safer than the likes of Weeks, Hands, and even maybe Ray Stone. I think Ray Stone's probably the safest of all of them if you're needed to buy right now, but Sonny Luke's my preference just for the potential attacking upside playing in a good Panthers team. I think if you own someone like Wade Egan, I think it's fine to hold this week. I don't think he's going to go down much in price with a break-even of 58, and it just gives you another week, I think, to reassess some of these guys. Yes, some of them have got negative break-evens, but I don't think they're going to be guys who are going to like explode in price. So I feel like you can maybe wait a week on it, potentially. I forgot Tanner Boyd from side. To be honest, I didn't actually forget Tanner Boyd. I just didn't include him because I thought I wanted to show more of the cheaper ones around the 200k mark. He was kind of sitting in the middle about 300k. I included the likes of Cheese and Jacob Little because I still think someone like Brandon Smith could be someone we go back to buy, because I really liked what I saw from him last week. He put through Sam Walker through a hole for a line break assist, and the way that he was playing kind of looked more like what I expected him to be playing when he first joined the Roosters. We all moved off him, but I thought it's worthwhile just mentioning him here that, you know, if you're a Wade Egan owner, you're making 200k going down to Brandon Smith, which is obviously, you know, pretty decent money, but you are probably getting a much safer option. You're getting a starting dummy half for a good Roosters team. Roosters do not play round 13, so that doesn't help. But at least, you know, during that whole Origin period, he'll play. He's a Kiwi, so he might be one that I look to maybe in a couple of weeks. But anyway, that's some thoughts around dummy halves. A lot of love for Preston in the chat. We do love Preston. Preston Mania, Press God, Press Ton. I like that little pun from Robbie Starr. I've got some numbers on front row forwards. I don't want to go a whole heap into it. I feel like I've been talking about it the last few weeks, but yeah, look, if I was to buy one front row forward, Haas is by far looking the best. Only thing I will say with Payne Haas is what slightly concerns me is minutes if the Broncos keep putting on heaps of points. He played 45 minutes last week, like they didn't need to play him big minutes. That's the only risk I see with Payne Haas at this stage, but when he's playing, he is absolutely killing it. Looking amazing. Tarpany's been solid, but the Raiders just don't look quite good at this stage. I have been more leaning towards Tarpany just for the full Origin coverage, but I do think Haas is probably the one who I would try to get to at this point, but the minutes are a bit of a concern. He's getting highly owned now as well, so this is something I'm probably going to revisit a bit more next week, I think, when like myself and other people might be selling Oitokumanu, but if you're in the position where you want to sell one of Oitokumanu or Welch to a gun front row forward, I'd probably just try to buy Payne Haas. I think just ride the wave, and maybe come Origin time, maybe you move to someone like Tarpany, because Tarpany's the safest for that period of time, but right now I think Haas is going to be outscoring him. Raiders is just not looking to offload as much, and Payne Haas is constantly offloading. And that try that he scored was 2021 Day Fafita-esque, where he just like bullied the opposition. Anyway, that's my thoughts on front row forward. Would I sell Hammer to Marzhew? Yes. We'll get onto my team in a little bit, but yeah, I'll be doing that. I'm not going to talk about top 10 trade ins and outs. I think we've covered the majority of these players. Just on captaincy for this week, it is a bit of an open week this week for sure. So a lot of good teams versing each other. Roosters Storm, Penrith Manly, Rabbitohs Bulldogs is tough. So I think it's a bit more of an open week. I think if you want to take a bit more of a pod captain this week, this is not a bad week to do it, in my opinion. The way I'm seeing it is, you know, if you're a Munster owner, maybe you can go someone like VC Munster. But Roosters have been pretty good at defending opposition 5/8 so far. At the beginning of the stream, Roosters have been very good at conceding points. Like, they've been pretty tight defensively to date. So Munster doesn't scream VC. Cleary feels like a safe VC, just because it's Cleary. Just seeing that Manly conceded 32 points to the Knights, you can imagine Penrith being able to score 32 points. And if they do, then it's going to be Cleary heavily involved. So I like VC Cleary. Not too keen on Trbojevic, in my opinion. I think the matchup is just not quite there. Penrith have been the best team at defending opposition fullbacks. So for me, he's not an option. Hamish is saying Val Holmes. I did toy with putting in Val Holmes, but I was kind of thinking how many people would captain him. But I think he is definitely a pod shout. Now that Drinkwater's back, you know, the Dolphins game, playing at home, I think there are some factors that could make Holmes a good captain shout. He's personally not one that I've considered too much. I still think we've not seen enough from him ceiling-wise to say, yes, I'll captain him. Reece Walsh is really standing out as a pod captain. So Canberra are the 6th worst at defending opposition fullbacks. We've seen how many points the Broncos are scoring. It's another home game for the Broncos. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Like, they've just been gifted this draw for the beginning of the season. So Saturday night, it's Broncos-Raiders at Suncorp. Raiders conceding points. Like, Reece Walsh is standing out as an option. Payne Haas, we've seen the upside from him as well, attacking wise. Raiders have actually been the 2nd worst at defending opposition front row forwards for points, so he's also a shout. A little bit later in the week, you've got Fafita against the Dragons, who we know concede points as well. They're the 8th worst at defending second row forwards, So I think someone like Fafita is an option. He's looking pretty good. No foreign though, which kind of makes me think he's maybe not the one that I'd be trying to get to. Dylan Brown. Tigers are the 4th worst at defending opposition 5/8. I kind of like that. I mean, I'm looking at these numbers actually. Harry Grant, 5th. Roosters have been the 5th worst at defending opposition hookers. So to be honest, actually, if you're umming and ahhing and you don't want to go VC Cleary, I think VC Grant is a shout as well for sure. That's probably something I'll consider a little bit more actually. Latrell, if you're a Latrell owner, I haven't got him on this list here. Bulldogs have been the 7th worst at defending fullbacks. That's an option too. So I think VC wise, I think you can go a little bit more different with the likes of, you can even VC Reece Walsh on the Saturday and then look to captain you can captain an Eels player because they play on the Monday. So that's something that you can think about this weekend in particular as well, with the games being spread out a little bit more. So VC Walsh could be on the cards. I think I'll probably just lean with VC Cleary, just knowing that Penrith can still score plenty of points. And then for me at the moment, I'm thinking captain Walsh, Fafita or Dylan Brown. That's where I'm leaning at the moment. I don't love that none of them goal kick. At the moment, it's on Dill Bags. I like the Tigers matchup. His running mate is back, Sean Lane. WWYD saying Captain Lane. It's an option, but I've currently got the armband on his running mate. It's a tough week for captains, I think. But yeah, at the moment, I'm VC Cleary, captain Dylan Brown is actually where I'm at the moment. But subject to change. So just on that, I'll quickly show you guys my team, what I'm thinking about, and then I think we'll do about 5-10 minutes of questions, and then we'll wrap up there. So for me, trades feel fairly straightforward. So Niokori's out for 2 weeks, so he's been fine. He scored the try last week, but he's out for 2 weeks. We've got a prime candidate in Hosking available, so I will be going Niokori to Hosking. That's pretty much locked in. And then Tabai Fado, thanks for your money generation. You made about 160k. Did a job for me. Gregosaurus coming in. So that's 2 trades, 36k in the bank. Now, I did think about doing a boost of Hopgood out for like Schuster to make some money, but think about it more. I'm happy, I think, to hold Hopgood potentially just for the week. Maybe see how he goes against the Tigers. I wish I could bring in Sean Lane this week, but I feel like Hosking and Marzhew are the 2 ones that feel pretty safe to go for this week. I'll have a pretty solid 17 if I do those 2 trades. So if I just quickly complete those trades, I'll show you what my team setup would look like for the week ahead. So Hosking would come in for Hopgood. I'll put Hopgood on the bench in terms of that he plays later in the round. My centers are probably all going to stay the same. Walsh is staying. Ford will probably stay versus the Knights. So Miney will probably stay as well. So then it's either to play one of Hopgood or Camperera. I'd probably just take Hopgood, I think. Take the chance on the safety of points. Camperera, we do know, has got those stinker games in him. And yeah, that would be my 17. Now, there's obviously a risk that Hopgood, well, not a risk. He's been named in the 17, so there's an option for him that he'll still play. But I'm thinking that I can save a boost again. I thought I was going to boost last week. I've only used the 1 boost so far. I'm not too thinking about trying to save the boost. I'm happy to use a boost if I need to, but right now I'm feeling that I don't have to. Like, I'm happy to roll with Hopgood for another week, because I think next week I'm going to have issues where Oita Command is going to be a problem for me. I only have 36k in the bank. I'll need to do a downgrade to get someone up. I'll need to get funds to go Oita Command up. So what I'm thinking next week is, someone like Schuster, yes, he'll go up in price with a -10 break even, but it's a game against Penrith, so he might not go up that much in price. So what I'm thinking of potentially doing next week is see what happens with Camperera. He's got a really low break even this week, but if he stinks it up and has got a really high break even, Camperera down to someone like Nickel Klukstad from the Warriors might free up like 100k, and then maybe Doueihi or Hopgood down to Schuster frees up potentially 200 up to 300k. That's Oita Command up to a front row forward and like Tarpany or Payne Haas. So I feel like I've been saying it the last couple of weeks, but I do feel like there's a good chance that I boost next week, which is kind of why I'm thinking I don't need to force Hopgood out for Schuster this week just to make money. Hop could still be a viable option for me next week. Just another week of information as well. And yeah, I think otherwise pretty happy with those two trades. Hosking in, Marzhew in for Niokora and Doueihi Fido feels quite comfortable for me. So that's kind of where I'm at with the trades.
Here's what I found.
Oh, shut up, Siri. Why does Siri think I'm talking to her? And yeah, for me, probably the final decision will just be on the captaincy, but currently it's on Dylan Brown. Anyway, that's where I'm at. Yeah, Ian saying, can I go Marnie down to get Oichikamanu? Again, that's another option. I can see how Sonny Luke plays. Maybe Marnie down to Sonny Luke. Let's say Hopgood kills it and I really need to find money. Then yeah, maybe it's Marnie down to Sonny Luke. So a couple of options that I can use to get up to upgrade my front row forward, because I'm conscious that front row forward spot is sucky right now. But I feel like getting in the likes of Hosking and Marzhew are more important for the team this week. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So we'll do 5 to 10 minutes of questions. So get those questions in. 239 watching, which is amazing. I think that's the most I've ever had, actually. So thank you everyone for joining me. Please do give the stream a like. But yeah, fire in your questions. We'll try to get to as many of them as I can. And we'll do that for about 5-10 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up there. Should I get Munster or Dillbags? I'd rather get Dillbags just with the better matchup this week and the Origin coverage. That was the reason why I went Dillbags a couple of weeks ago. Sorry, I'm just going to get some water. Is using 4 boosts already a worry? I think 4 boosts does feel like a bit of a worry, especially this season when you've got 3 major bye weeks, not the 2 that we've been used to. I think if you've used 3, it's fine, but I would be keen to hold on to that. So I think 4 boosts is a worry. Jason says, should I get Josh King or Payne Haas? Front and forward looking weak, but the money saved can go towards Grant next week. It's a tough one. I mean, Payne Haas is killing it. Josh King has obviously been solid, but like if you got Payne Haas, who would your dummy half be? I guess is a question. Just let me know, because you'd have to look at the combo. Like let's say it's Robson, Payne Haas, Robson, or Grant, Josh King. I'd probably go the Grant, Josh King option, because I think Grant versus every other dummy half is like well clear. At the moment, Haas is well clear, but I think eventually the difference is not going to be that much. Play Hopgood or Ford? I think I'd play Ford just for the safety of minutes. I think you know that Ford is going to play 80 minutes guaranteed. Hopgood, we don't really know what the minutes are going to look like, so I think for safety I'd say Ford. Let's see. Ian says, Tabo Fido to Marzhew, Welch to Haas, Hopgood to Jack Johns or Fido to Marzhew, Welch to Haas or Holmes to CNK to free up cash for next week. Fido to Marzhew, fine. Welch to Haas, fine. Holmes to CNK or Hopgood to Jack Johns. To be honest, I'd rather do Hopgood to Jack Johns, but I don't even love that, to be honest. Sorry, Ian. Doueihi to Schuster for fun for Haas. Only thing with that Macca is I'm going to assume that you're going to have to go Schuster and Katoa for the next couple of weeks. Schuster doesn't have great matchups the next 2 weeks. I don't think Haas is that important. Like, I think Doueihi is fine. I don't think you need to, like, if you're doing that to get Hines, I'd say fine. But for Haas, I don't think you need to do that much to get Haas. Like, Haas is great, but at the end of the day, front row forward isn't a spot that's going to kill you if you don't own the best guy, in my opinion. Jason says, dummy halves on Marnie and Robson. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd probably sell Marnie. Do Cowboys play round 13? Whichever the two plays round 13, if one of them does. Cowboys do play round 13. Bulldogs don't. So I'd probably just sell Marnie in your situation, Jason. What do you think of the hammer down to Sean Russell? I don't love the Sean Russell one. I know he's been named instead of Wanga Blake, but how long is that for? I don't think you need to do that trade necessarily this week. Like, remember, at the end of the day, Tabo Fido is even not a must-sell himself. He's just in the Cowboys. It's his old team. He could be up for it, but we've got a prime candidate in Marzhew there to upgrade to. But going down to Sean Russell, I don't even think Sean Russell is that cheap from memory. How much is he? He's 366k. To be honest, like, you're not even really funding that much in terms of money. I would just go Nickel Klukstad. He's 377k, but way more safe. Way more safe. If I would just go Nickel Klukstad, in my opinion, instead of Russell. When am I targeting the Sharks backs? Now, this is a great question. Yeah, the Sharks backs, Katoa, Mulatalo, Ramian, looked really good. I think maybe if I went to move off Marzhew, maybe if someone like Khan-Pereira or Warbrick makes enough money, I'd try to get up to one of them. So thinking about it now, maybe Khan-Pereira to one of the cheaper ones there, just maybe as a good solid option. Why am I playing Hopgood over Khan-Pereira? I just think Khan-Pereira is at risk of playing like 6, getting me 10 points. Whereas Hopgood, if he plays 15 minutes, he can still get me 25, 30. If that makes sense. I feel like Hopgood's got a great matchup himself this week, but just much safer with the base stats. Khan-Pereira, I know Dragons can concede points, but I feel like Hopgood's just safer in my opinion. John saying, I have Teddy. How many of Marzhew, Hosking, Latrell should I get this week? How many? If you can get all three, great. It's kind of hard to answer that question. Like for me, Marzhew, Hosking feel the nice, safe options to go for this week. Although, to be honest, the best two would be Hosking and Latrell, in my opinion. Because Latrell has a chance to explode this week, but yeah, kind of, it's team dependent. Sorry, I'm going to go with the cop-out answer. Would I be selling Hopgood or the Cardi Party for Hosking? At the moment on Hopgood. Yeah, so I spoke about this a little bit before. I think I would go Hopgood, just because at least, with Cartwright, he's been named to start. That could continue. And yeah, I'd probably just go Hopgood. But we spoke about it before. I don't think Hopgood is even a must-sell this week. Playing Khan-Pereira or Sonny Luke. In that case, I'd play Khan-Pereira. Just better upside potential. Thoughts, please, sir. Marnie to Weeks, Hopgood to Hosking, and Alamotti to Marzhew. Leaves you 330k in the bank. We spoke about the dummy halves before. I kind of prefer Sonny Luke longer term to Weeks, but I can kind of see the initial appeal of Weeks. Hopgood to Hosking, I think is fine. Alamotti to Marzhew, I think it's fine for a boost. And I think like that cash is really useful as well. Hey man, if I get Hoskings this week, it's either as a 6th playable second forward or trading out Hopgood. What's the better option? Yeah, this is something that to think about. You don't need to stack your depth too much, but to be honest, I think you could go Steezers. Maybe think about this. You could upgrade your 6th second row forward if you're still able to do your other moves and not be hampered for cash. I'd be tempted to go upgrading your 6th second row forward, because then what happens in a couple of weeks is you can then make a decision as to which of the two you need to downgrade. You can either downgrade Hosking if he loses a spot, Hopgood if the minutes are bad, and you've got that flexibility where you've got both in place, and then you can just pick and choose which of the two you want to cull later on, instead of just making an outright decision now of I'm going Hosking over Hopgood. So I'd probably actually say maybe try to get an upgrade to your 6th playable second row forward instead. Schuster or Khan-Pereira better 4th reserve? Probably Khan-Pereira. I just don't like Schuster against the Penrith Panthers, in my opinion. Thoughts on Carrigan to Hosking and Hopgood to Dillbags? Yeah, I'd do it. I would do that for sure. Gazaraki, last reserve. Khan, Taruva, Boyd or Ford? Probably not Tanner Boyd. I know it's the Dragons, but still, not Tanner Boyd. I'm just not feeling it. It's one of Taruva or Ford. Gee, that's tough. Probably Taruva. He's got a ceiling on him, but his base stats are pretty solid. So yeah, probably Taruva. Is Teddy a sell? I do think so. I do think Teddy's a sell, especially when you're in a key position at fullback. I think it's just a position where you can make a single trade and get paid back immediately. I'm not even sure how much Tedesco's priced at anymore. 676k. You're only like 40k off Walsh. I think you're only like 20k off Latrell. Yeah, 20k off Latrell. yeah, I'd probably sell Teddy for one of those two. To be honest, I'd probably go Walsh is the safe option with the good matchups. Latrell's the pod who could go huge. If I had to flip a coin, I'd probably go Reece Walsh. Just ride the hot wave and ride the form. Hey man, Garrick to Marzhew to collect Marzhew. Nah, sorry Rodders. I know the plan to trade Garrick back in, but I think if you've got Garrick in there, don't mess around. I think with burning your trades, I'd just keep Garrick locked in there in my opinion. As I spoke about earlier, round 8 onwards, I think Garrick is going to be one of my most wanted players to trade in. All right, we'll do one more question and then we'll wrap it up because we've been going for like an hour, 10 minutes. I won't answer yours, OT Hero, because that's pretty common, but I'd say yes. Who would I sell, Egan Butcher or Hopgood? God, that's tough, isn't it? I still think I'd sell Egan Butcher. He's just not quite cutting it. Like what he's been getting in 80 minutes is like mid-40s. I think Hopgood has still been getting that even in lower minutes. Plus, Hopgood's got better buy coverage for you. So I would just keep Hopgood and maybe probably just sell Egan Butcher in my opinion. All right, we're going to wrap up the stream there. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Please do give the stream a like if you enjoyed it. We'll be trying to put the audio out for this on Spotify and audio platforms later tonight. So if anyone wants to listen back, they can. But I will try to put timestamps as well for people who are watching the stream on replay. But really appreciate you all coming out and tuning in on this Tuesday evening. Really, really appreciate all the support. So do give the stream a like on the way out. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Any other questions, put in the comments, Twitter, all that kind of good stuff, and I'll try to get back to you. But until then, have a good rest of your evening and catch you in the next one. See ya.